everyone. How's everyone doing? I have on compression gloves because my fingers are doing weird things. And plus they're just kind of fun.
I literally just grabbed mine before I came on. They are kind of fun.
I know. This is a new something. I've got some stuff going on right now and this was recommended to me to use. So
Yes.
I'm using them a little bit until they get on my nerves and then I'll take them off. But
Okay. Have you this same? I'm like I'm good for up to an hour. But
I don't know how long I can like I've never like tested how long I can keep them on. They just eventually start to get on my nerves and then I'm like, okay, they've got to come off.
yeah. Yeah. I started with 10 minutes. I did change sizes though. But they are very helpful for a lot of things, guys. So I highly recommend.
I haven't had to change sizes. At first, I thought I got the wrong size because I thought they were supposed to be tighter. But if they were any tighter, I think I wouldn't have circulation. So I think I have to keep them this size.
Yeah, that's the issue that I have. I literally just grabbed mine, but it's because I've been doing a lot of home renos. So the hands and wrists and all of the things have really been just like not feeling good.
I thought of we're just going off on a tangent. We're already just randomly rolling. Hi Regina.
Hi.
I thought of you the other day because I was like, oh, it's almost that time to plant veggies and stuff. Yep. And I was trying to think of the best way I could possibly do something. And I was like, who would know? Nina.
I do have ideas for things you can do because I love for everybody to just get started. Even
if this year is going to be a little different because I normally want to plant like some herbs and different things. And there's always some issues like in timing. But this year I think it's going to be a little bit different. I can tell you why later. But okay. So I was like, I may be able to actually do it. So yes, I thought of you.
Y'all don't know, but whenever Tiffany is up for it and ready, I want us to just stream other stuff because the other stuff that Tiffany loves to do, I love to watch people do, and I love to do with people, but I don't have people here who like to do it with me. They like the things I do and they like the results of it, but like the baking and doing little gardening things and little crafty things, I'm like, Tiffany, we just need to stream at some time, just doing the other things. Because yes, we are writers, but we are more than just writers.
Almost went on a depressive binge shop of buying needlepoint crafts. And I had to pull myself back because I was like, there is no way I'm about to spend $50-something on a needlepoint print.
I'm telling you.
But I was in a really bad headspace. I was upset about some stuff. I just wanted something to get my mind off of things. And I was like, I was watching all these videos of people doing needlepoint and they look so relaxed and I wasn't relaxed. And I was just like, maybe this is what I need to do. And I started looking up stuff and I found one. It was a Missouri kind of thing that you could do. And it was so super cool. Ooh. And I was like, I could do that. And it was just $50-something for the print. That wasn't even like the yarn or the needle or anything else that you needed for it. I was like, I can't make myself do that.
Yeah, just to get the pattern.
I'm not quite at that space yet.
One day.
I was like, I have other stuff I can think of to spend. I have other stuff that I need to spend $50-something on than needlepoint. But I had to make myself stop. So yes, I do love the little crafts. They are kind of fun. But yeah. So I don't know. I'm very excited. I kind of want to do some herbs and some different stuff this year. So.
And there's so many like homeopathic things that you can grow. I'm like, which is the sad thing is that those are the things I struggle with. Like the way that lavender and mint like to die on me. I'm just
like, I actually was able to get It was sweet mint, I think it was, that I was able to get to grow one year. I don't know if I've ever tried lavender, but I do love lavender. Lavender is one of my favorite scents.
I
I
love me
actually have a
some.
lavender bergamot candle sitting on my dresser right now.
Ooh.
Because yeah, lavender is one of my favorite scents, guys.
Yeah. And
So yeah.
the herb that gets me every time is cilantro, which is crazy because I can grow any kind of parsley and they're so similar, but apparently not because cilantro is a no for me.
Cilantro.
Parsley, I love cilantro. My husband's like, I love cilantro. My parsley looks like a bush. It grows so big. I'm just like, I mean,
I
don't
have
give me.
green. I have green onions growing right now because I wanted to try that thing where you cut off the onion and you
I
put it
did
in the
that.
water.
It worked outside in the winter.
Yes,
They do. I'm like, get out.
but I don't eat onion enough that now I'm like, what am I gonna do with this green onion?
Just let it grow. Just let it grow,
It
girl. But
has been. My father's like, you just gonna ever cut that? I'm like, yeah, someday. I don't know.
yes, that is a hack, guys. It will smell like onion, so I recommend you doing it if you're going to do it in a pot. Do it in a pot outside. Mine did fine all winter, even under the snow. Um,
Really?
yes, I'm like shocked. I'm like, I thought when I came out after the snow it was going to be dead, and there she was, just thick and big and thick.
Okay, I may
But
have to try it
from the
because right
grocery
now it
store,
still is just sitting on like our windowsill. So I may have to try putting because
yeah.
that was one of the other things. I was like, should I put it in like some dirt and like put it outside and let it really grow?
Honestly, I think if I threw it out in my yard, it might take over. And that might be a little smelly, a little onion smelly. So I was like, I better not. But it's very tempting to just be able to go out and cut onion anytime you need it. But yeah, she grew.
And
She's still alive after the snow
very
outside.
good. Well, guys, we are so happy to be back with you. We'll get on topic.
Yeah, we need
This
to
is
do our intros.
I know this is Small Town World. My name is Tiffany. This is my lovely host Nia. We love to sit around and talk about all things small town and world building, and you know, doing all the fun things that you can do with um, all the great things that we get to do in our writer worlds. And um, we have a fun topic today that we're both really kind of excited to talk about. So I'm gonna let Nia introduce herself, and then we will jump in.
Oh, hi, I'm Nia, the Vixen of Fiction all over the internet. I am taking a semi hiatus because the month of March has been kind of crazy, but I will be back full swing right after Easter. But you'll be able to catch me on Tuesday nights on YouTube on my channel, and starting back in April, I'll be back on Twitch on Mondays and Fridays. I just realized that my garden stuff was going to be a bigger project than I thought, which it always is. It always is. You think I can knock something out in a couple of weeks. It's going to take the full month to do it. And I'm like desperate to get it all done before Easter. So that's my deadline. So I've been working on that. And then one of the kiddos had surgery. So my mom is also in town. So March has been a bit of a juggle, but we're working things out. But you can
And how's
find
the
me.
kiddo doing?
Kiddo is doing very well so far, so good. So
Good.
far, so good. Um, it was not a life-threatening surgery, so they are fine. But it's a surgery that they needed to have a good functioning rest of their life, or however long the fake attachments, limb attachments. You know, they replace things. I have a couple of my kids are athletes, and my two athlete
Mm-hmm.
kids have beat up by
Mm-hmm.
their athleticism, and
Mm-hmm.
they're so young. They have had the most major surgeries. Um, so it's one of those things. Yeah.
We have
That
a lot of athletes in my family, and yeah, it's I I understand why professional athletes' careers are so short.
yeah.
Like the time frames are so limited because that's just a lot of wear and tear on your body.
Yeah. The sad thing is that both of them after their surgeries, this one too, they can't wait to get back to the thing
Mm-hmm.
that caused the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to see the lovely Misty Copeland at the Oscars after like 6 weeks after having a hip replacement. She's out there doing ballet
Yeah.
at the Oscars. So my kids are like, see, totally doable. I'm like, what is wrong with athletes? What is wrong with y'all?
I think it's like a mental training, like a mindset
Yeah.
of, like, kind of like once you get over this, then you can go back to that
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is just a little hiccup. I'm going to be doing the thing.
Although I do have to say, Missy looked amazing at the
She
Oscars.
goes fan freaking tastic. I'm like, wow, wow, wow. So impressed.
We all need to be in that type of shape, even with or without surgery. Like, dude.
Right. It is goals. Like, amazing. She looked amazing.
And I think she just announced she was retiring from
Yeah,
the
she had
ballet too.
retired. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She just retired. But she had retired and there she was at the Oscars.
Right.
What a brand new hip. Looking amazing.
People, they retire, but they never fully retire.
I never fully retire. Yeah. When you love something, what are you gonna do? Oh, so many friends. Hi.
I know. I'm seeing everybody's here. I love Angel Faye's like alive and good. We like to hear that.
Yes, Tiffany, introduce yourself, and then we can tell everybody what we're talking about today.
Oh, I thought I did. I'm Tiffany, TL Russ on most of the interwebs. It's what I write under. I too have been taking a bit of a sabbatical. Unlike Nia, I would love to tell you when I'll be back. I unfortunately right now can't. Some things in my world are kind of like a moment to moment, day to day type of something. And yeah, it's kind of getting on my nerves. But life is life, and we're going to keep going with it. So, but I do have hopefully a book coming out soon, which I'm kind of excited about. So, oh my gosh, Angel Faye, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world is what the world is too. And unfortunately, right now that's such a part of everything that we're going through. We could go, that could take us into a whole tangent.
Yeah.
But definitely sending you strength, protections, just over you and your family, your friends, like all of your loved ones. And hopefully, things will right themselves
sooner
in the way that they need to.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible, for real. Because, yeah. Yeah. Oh, the times we live in.
Yes.
I was just watching something recently. It wasn't even something that was about like anything like that. It was actually someone, they were eating it was like one of those like people who go like try new foods that restaurants are displaying, and they started talking about like the generation gaps and like our reliance on technology and like the ways that it's affecting like how people interact with each other and our like empathy and all this different stuff and the things that it's kind of leading to. And I was like, how did we get here from like Chipotle's new cilantro lime sauce? But there was some valid stuff in what they were saying and like the concerns of it, but it was just kind of like, how did we get here from that? But it just feels like that's how life is right now. Like you start talking on one subject and it just takes you over into a rabbit hole of everything else. And so it was just kind of like, yep, here we are. Yep.
Very much.
Well, guys, today we are going to be talking about our small towns and how to build the social hub of your small towns. If you don't know what the social hub is, I'm going to use I don't know if it's a stereotype, but it is kind of we're known for it, I guess, in a way, in the African American community. the barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think of the barbershop or the hair salon,
Yeah.
especially like even in the South, outside of the African American community, like the South with hair salons is, you know, kind of where women get together and they kind of socialize and gossip and tell the tales and um
Absolutely. I believe we saw this one in Steel Magnolias is one
mhm
the hair salon. Uh,
mhm
there was actually a movie called Barbershop that kind of
mhm
like exemplifies what that is. And, you know, it's where everybody goes. It's where all the good gossip is told. It's where
mhm
breakdowns happen, fights can happen, all kinds of things can
yep.
happen at your social hub.
And the fun thing though is it doesn't necessarily have to just be that, because like I remember as a kid, my great aunt, God rest her soul, um, she had a Tuesday Bible study class.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, they sang some songs and read some scriptures and did everything else. But I'm gonna tell you, them ladies came there for the snacks afterwards and the gossip.
Yeah.
And they sit around their kitchen table and start to eat, and just the conversations that would be had, you would think they were solving all of the world's disputes.
Mm-hmm.
Putting everything to right at the same time, talking about who was with who and who was stepping out and who needed to be in church more often and who was only in church because it looked good and this and that, like all of it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific place. It could be the book club, it could be the Red Hat Society, but maybe you name it something else because you don't want to get involved with, you know, like the, since that actually is a Red Hat Society, you know, you don't want to get involved with kind of their, for lack of a better way to say, politics, and like rules and stuff like that. So maybe you name it something else. It could be a knitting club. It could be anything that you come up with. It could even be like the restaurant. Maybe the woman who runs the restaurant is like your gossip queen, if you will. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of different ways that you could do it.
Yeah. I believe we saw a restaurant with Gilmore Girls
Mm. Mm-hmm.
where he runs this diner, and he might not want to be in the gossip, but the gossip was always all happening all around him. Sometimes it's your local bar, um,
Mm-hmm.
where that place where people tend to gather, and a lot of your stories can that not necessarily take place, but it is a place where things can be exchanged within your story, and it becomes familiar to your readers, so that it's a
Mm-hmm.
place that when you're writing a series in particular, sometimes when you're just writing a novel, it's that reoccurring place that, you know, people go to. And if someone's going to run into somebody, that's a good place to have it happen, because it makes sense for them to run into people at this place, because you've established that this is a place where people love to go. Gilmore Girls also had they also had the park, and they also had the little town hall meeting place where a lot of things happened at the town hall
Mm-hmm.
meeting place. So it was a town hall meeting place. That's also where they practiced their plays. If anything was going on town wise, it happened there. And a lot of like functions, little fairs and craft shows and stuff like that would happen in the park. So they didn't just have the diner. So it's okay to establish more than one place if you've got like a really long series. And then it kind of helps you establish who would go to certain places. Like if you have someone who is not necessarily a person who eats out at a diner, you might want to establish that there's also the park where it's a hub where people can run into love interests, can run into each other, and things like that can happen. So I always think it's fun. You guys know world building is like my most favorite part of the creative
Mm-hmm.
realm. So I'm just like, I love creating these spaces, spaces that'll work for different people.
I also think of Friends. Like Friends had the coffee shop, where everything kind of happened in some way there. Um, but they also, and this could be like, because I generally tend to write short romances. So if you're doing stuff like, you know, where it is a short romance or something like that, sometimes like if you think about it, Friends had basically like three main sets. It was like the coffee shop, the girls' apartment, the guys' apartment. And
Mhm.
like you can kind of limit it in that structure if you need to, where it's just kind of one specific something that is where everybody goes to. You know what I mean? Where kind of you have a set structure of how that is. I also think of Seinfeld. Seinfeld had like what was it, Jerry's apartment and
Yeah.
um
They also go to one of their
that
diners a lot.
diner or whatever it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. But even if you think of Golden Girls really just had their kitchen.
Yep. Or their living room. Yeah. Everything
Yeah.
happens.
Like all the gossip, all of the story, all of the kind of meaty telling of like back histories and everything else happen around that kitchen table. You know what I mean? And a cheesecake. You know, so or some type of dessert. So you could always set something up in that respect as well, especially if you have something where it's roommates or people living together, some type of common space like that. You can always do things like that if you're limited in your word count, and like it would take a lot to really build, you know, like build out like a barber shop or a restaurant or something, you know, where you could just kind of have like that limited space. You could do something to that effect, and then just bring everything into that spot. And I think one of the biggest keys for me though, when I start thinking about this, and I don't know about Nia, she can kind of speak to it herself, is developing who your busybody or your gossip queen is going to be. Because once you know that, you can kind of figure out where you might place them or where your situation might be happening. Because I mean, like if you have someone who is like the minister's wife, is she gossiping in the hair salon, or is she hosting like the afternoon Tuesday Bible tea? You know what I mean? You know, like so you have to, like if you have someone who is like a corporate person, do they have time to go to the afternoon tea? But they may always be getting their hair done, you know, type of a thing. So once you kind of figure out, I think, who your gossip person is, like if it's an older lady, if it's, you know, like a young guy or whatever. And don't think guys don't got, Lord, men gossip, y'all. If
Mhm.
you didn't know. You know, so like you could figure, like if I were going to write something and it was older men, it's really funny. I would maybe, just knowing my father and his friends, I would have them out at like an airport hangar, because my father has this friend who has like his own like little plane. They go out there all the time and just sitting around, just chatting and doing all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? He's like, we're just talking. We're just doing this. Like, oh, okay. So yeah, don't think guys don't gossip. They definitely
Mhm.
gossip.
Yeah.
So
I think. Oh, go ahead, Tiff.
no, I was getting ready to hand it off to you.
Okay. So I think for me, I like to create a central hub with kind of like offshoot hubs that kind of
Mm.
go along with it. So I can use Ethereal Falls as an example. The hub kind of is this central park. So it's a Ethereal Falls is a very small town. It's got like a town square that's a central park, and my two busybodies, they sit in this park all the time. Now it's a little bit magical because they're also always in their shop. One of them has a shop, the other one has an inn. So they're also always there, but they're also always it's a little magical, this world. But
Mhm.
they're always there and they're always at the central park. Everyone passes through whether they're driving or walking. Everyone kind of like if you're doing anything in town, you're passing through this. So they're the eyes, they see everything and they can kind of like do a little like tap at the little wiggle wiggle and kind of make a little something happen if they want to. But the offshoots, I've got the inn, there's a cafe, and then there's a bakery. And so these are the main places where internally people will meet. Everybody goes here for their coffee in the morning before they go to work. It's a small town, so you're usually in walking distance of, you know, most things. There's the bakery. Everybody loves to go to the bakery for their goodies, for their breakfast snacks. And then there's the inn. That's where people go when they come to visit. So it's they're very convenient for me. They're very fun. And we get to know the people who work in these places, and they become the character, kind of like the recurring characters
Mm-hmm.
as we meet a new couple that comes in every time. So I get to have a lot of fun with them. So for me, it's that Central Park, that kind of like town square area, where
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to go, and my two busybodies are going to see everything. And I that's just the way that I worked it out. I love that. I do it a little bit differently for my pen name stuff. It's not magical, so it is more grounded.
You actually brought up something too that made me think about when you mentioned like the coffee, like where Ray goes to get their coffee. Setting these places up, like it doesn't have to be like a, 1,500 word, 15-page scene where it's the social hub or where they're gossiping and it's, like it's a whole like a third of your book, or something like that. Like it could be quick, like in and out, like kind of moments where you're getting your coffee and as they're passing the coffee, they're like, "Did you hear about June? What happened with June?" Well, you didn't hear from me, but I heard that she was driving up and down like Mayor Thompson Street, and his wife is out of town, and keep that to yourself, and you have a good on day, type of a son. Like that's a really quick interaction, but it does establish like that this is kind of that social hub. This is that gossip space. This is that person who's the busybody type of a thing, where you're not taking up a lot of space, but you're filling like your world with characters and with like news and everything else, and like that gives your to me it gives your story life. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I know. Like in my first book for Ethereal Falls, it just happens to be where my two characters are like crossing paths. So it is very quick, but this place is now established, and I think it's either been mentioned as where we're going to get coffee, or they've gone there again in every story. So it doesn't have to be, let me now sit down and tell you about such and such cafe or such and such bakery. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be like that. It's like, this is just the place, things happen here, and then we move on, and then you'll see it again. And as your readers get used to either your novel or your series, they're going to see that place again, and it starts to fill in. I have kind of like a hyperphantasia, so I will fill it in myself. I'm like, you tell me a bakery or a cafe, I've got something in my head, but I'll be able to change it as you fill me in later.
Yeah.
Some people, they only go by, it's a cafe. She said cafe. I'm not filling in anything else until you're told. It's perfectly fine. You can fill people in as needed. You do not have to give the full rundown of where this building, who owns it. No,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. We'll meet the owner at some point, or whoever's managing, or maybe it's the cashier, or maybe we won't even really get into them. Maybe it's someone changes all the time. Uh, but we'll get to know the place. We'll get to know the vibe through the stories. So you don't
Yeah.
have to like, as long as you know. Like me, I've got it all written down. It's like in my story Bible, my world building story Bible, but the audience doesn't need to know everything I know about a particular bakery or cafe or shop all at once. It'll
Well, it's
trickle.
like characters,
Yes.
like how you could be doing a series of a family of five. You're not going to describe every single thing about every single person in that family, you know, in the first book, because it wouldn't make sense. Like, you're not going to describe book three's character, all in book one. You learn more about book three's characters, you get closer to book three. And then once you get into book three, you get more from them. And it's the same conversation, even though this is an established place or established kind of person or thing. So yeah, you're always kind of giving a little bit more as you continue to world build. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think these places kind of take on their own life just as they do in our real lives. If we think about how we use the places that we frequent,
Hmm.
whether for me it'd be like the gym or a particular coffee shop that I like to go to get my tea. Um, I call up my daughter or one of my friends. I'm like, hey, you want to hit up the Asian food store, go get some lumpia or some sopa or something like that. Uh, we do that so often that it becomes routine. It'll be like that in your story. So you could be in book 4 and be like, hey, you want to head to your character's like, I'm gonna head to Barb's Cafe, and you're like, oh, as you're reading you start thinking, oh yeah, Barb's Cafe, cool place.
Hmm.
And you start to think, oh, wonder if we'll run into anybody there while
Yeah.
we're at Barb's. So it becomes like that. It becomes part of the life of your story, and it's kind of
Hmm. Oh, that's a good one too. Cassie's Shop in the Good Witch. Because that is like it becomes kind of this centralized place where everybody kind of is known to go to. Um, Even the what is it, the mayor's wife who doesn't even like Cassie at the beginning, she still
she's
kind of
always
goes
there.
in,
She's
is
always
like, what is all this? Like, what's happening? Uh, so yeah, it does become that as well. Um, and that's another good, like, it doesn't, like, the social hub doesn't have to be gossip. It could be wherever people conjugate.
Yes.
So congregate is actually the correct way of saying that. Conjugate is a verb. Um, but like it could be where people just meet or where people gather randomly or just something that's an establishing kind of place. And I mean, like, you could think about it just in your areas or your friend groups. Where are places that you guys always talk about going? Where are things that are, like you said, like you just want coffee or whatever. um this is where you guys go, or whatever it is. It could be the library. If you have kids who are in school, it could be whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be gossip. It doesn't necessarily have to be this big huge expansive something. It's just where people get together and kind of establish this is a conversational place, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
uh,
my. Hell yeah.
yeah, Martha. I haven't watched The Good Witch in a while. Uh,
Yeah, it's been a minute. I when's the last? I think the last year is the last time. I think I caught up on like one of the newer seasons that I hadn't. You know how you start watching something, then you kind of fall off, and you realize, oh, there's a season or a special that I hadn't seen, and I
mhm.
think I did that. Did they? Oh, I don't want to spoil it for people who don't know. I was about to say.
I'd be the person that doesn't know.
I was about to say, and I was like, wait, don't let me spoil it for anybody who might not have seen it. But yeah,
Uh, um, so let's think about what are some of the things that you like when you sit down, Nia, to kind of establish whatever is going to be your kind of social hub. What are some of the things that you like to have there? Or even as you're reading, what are some of the things that you like to see in what it is where you're like, that identify that, oh, this is going to be like where people are going to get together?
yeah. A lot of times it just happens to be the recurrence of it because there are like we talked about with the Gilmore Girls, there are several places where we see a lot, but that doesn't mean that it's going to become the social hub. One of the girls had the mom who had um, the secondhand shop. We go
Mhm.
there sometimes, but that's not the hub. The same thing with where they have their town hall meetings and stuff. We go there a lot, but that's not necessarily the hub. the hub is something that happens more organically to me, unless it's on purpose, unless your story is focused around an office, in which case the hub doesn't happen by accident. The hub might be the break room or the outside area, and so you have to plan that a little bit more. But I
Mhm.
like that place that it really feels just like an organic thing has happened. And a lot of times that's why we get the book clubs, wherever the book club is going to take place. We get the cafes. I love a library, but libraries to me, whenever, because there are some shows where like the hub is the library. I think that happens when the library is either the workplace or the study place, and that I have several shows where a lot of stuff takes place in a library or a museum setting, and I'm like, you're supposed to be quiet there. So it always like I'm always the person, like, as I'm watching, I'm like, they're doing a lot of loud talking in this library. So I my brain thinks about things like that. So I tend to like to use a place where it's not going to be unusual for people to do a lot of loud talking. The other thing is I have the kind of the opposite reaction when the hub is a bar. They're so loud. In
Mm.
reality, bars are so freaking loud with their
Mhm.
people playing pool. There's music on. There's like tons and tons and tons of conversations. Whereas a shop or a cafe tends to be quieter. I happen to like was it Dawson's Creek, where and a couple of other ones. There's one more recently, Outer Banks, where it's a like a cafe restaurant, but there's also an outdoor area, so it feels a little bit
Mm.
more expansive, so you can pull yourself out of the crowded space, and have more opportunities to meet people or see people, things that are walking by, especially the ones where Dawson's Creek and Outer Banks, where they're on the water. So there's also, you can see things happening on boats, you can see things happening
Mm.
on a distant pier. I like when the hub has externals, which is kind of why I did my hub is more of the Central Park in Ethereal Falls, because it has these externals where you can kind of see who's coming in and out of the shop, who's coming in and out of the town hall, who's coming in and out of the theater, type of situation. I like my hub for the sake, especially for the sake of my busybodies. I like for the hub to be someplace where we can have a lot of eyes on. That's just me. It's a me thing. Uh,
No, I like that.
there's nothing wrong with having, your hub be someplace very niche, very close. It's honestly, it's going to depend on what you're writing and what's going to work for your story. And there is no right or wrong. It's honestly,
Mhm.
it's what works. And sometimes you actually might go in thinking, I'm going to have this cool, really cool hangout spot. And then as you're writing the story, that doesn't end up being where all
Very
of your stuff
true.
happens. The stuff could be happening at grandma's house, at Mima's house, and it just could turn out that way. Then you're like, wow, how did Mima's house? Everybody comes by Mima's. So Mima's house somehow is the actual hub of your story, because it's where the heart happens. It's where people want to gather, end up coming by, and conversations happen. And you just have to make sure that if you establish that that's what it is, that you have a good reason to have your new people coming into town. Why are they going there? You know, um, so make sure that it's going to make sense. It's that, like, the Mima's house makes a lot of sense if Mima's got a lot of property, so she's got maybe helpers coming in and out, people who need jobs, maybe someone needs to stay, lots of sibling and cousin, um, this cousin gets a relationship, that cousin gets a, and that uncle gets a relationship, and this aunt is getting really. That's a good familial stories.
Mhm.
It's good when it's a Mima's house, or maybe Mima is, you know, retired and she's a widow and now she needs roommates. There's there's some, my brain. I want to write more stories.
Yanni is crafting a story right now
Right.
as she's talking.
Every time I speak, stories pop into my head, and here we go. I'm gonna have to write some of this down. I'll come back and rewatch them. Yeah. So it's so bad. I do not have time to write all these things though. I really
Oh,
don't.
don't I know that?
But the hub,
All of a
whatever
sudden
the
we get the Mima Chronicles by Nia.
Mima's house series. But yeah, it honestly, sometimes it happens by accident, sometimes it's very deliberate, and sometimes you are held to constraints by if you have a story that's taking place predominantly in an office building. You know, are you going to make the hub be the break room, or are you going to establish that every day after work everybody goes to such and such hangout spot, and then that kind of becomes the hub, because you need it to make sense for if you're having office romances, you need it to be a place that's going to make sense for all of your characters to meet up.
Yeah. I feel very similar in the sense of there are times that like I want to establish a certain place as like that hub. Um and then somehow organically it goes left.
Mhm.
And it's someplace totally different. Peach Ridge would be a great example of that. Like I just knew it was going to be this coffee shop and it ended up being the Mexican restaurant. Because that's the one that showed up. And not only that's the one that kept showing up, but that's the one that like even my readers were like mentioning that or talking about that or something. And I was like, I didn't think I'd established it that well in the first book, but okay. Type of a thing. And so like that kind of became where people see everybody, where, you know, conversations are held and things like that. But I do agree organic is probably the best way to kind of allow these places to kind of come into being in your stories. And especially because I think you feel it. Like I think
Mhm.
when you start writing it and you're really in it, certain places feel homey or
Yeah.
like feel like you should be having those conversations. And I agree about the bars. Like I like the idea of the bar being the hub or whatever, but you're right, they are generally tend to be really loud. I've never thought about the libraries though, with the being quiet and people talking too much. That was a pretty good one.
It
And
can
I
be
think here's
hard.
why I think that I never thought about it is because our library does so many activities and events.
Mhm.
And so we have like they have like quiet rooms where like there's no talking, no music, no anything, you know, like if you're going in there to study, but then they have other events and different things. Like we have movie days, you know, like our at our library and stuff like that. And so I think that's why I never really thought about it, you know, in that respect of it being quiet. So that was kind of an interesting one to throw at me. I was like, oh,
Our
yeah, we're
small
loud
town
more.
girl, our library, we do have rooms where like a media room and then a room where you can go if you've got like small kids and they can listen to audiobooks and
Yeah.
you can read to them. So we do have a couple of separate rooms for those things. But when you walk into our library, it doesn't matter how many people are in there, it is quiet. It is
Yeah, because like I said, once you said that, it hit me. I was like, oh yeah.
sometimes there's outdoor activities and even out. I swear, our library, even when there's a lot of people, it's just quiet. Even the
Yeah,
reading room, it's quiet. It's so quiet.
yeah. Like that, I said, you threw me off because I hadn't even thought about it, but you are true.
Oh yeah. So
I
whenever I watch a
too.
show and people are in the library having full, I'm like, you're in the library having a full on conference. What? And I went to Chapel Hill, and the library was quiet.
Yeah. I too love a good I like a town center, a town square, a town something where, like you said, you have like those businesses that are kind of around it so everybody can see and like look. Love a good diner. I love a diner or some type of restaurant where people are kind of glancing out of big windows type of a
Yeah.
thing. Which is really funny because I live in a city and I think we have maybe four of those, and every big window they're looking out is not looking over anything that you're going to see anybody anywhere.
But they always are in the shows. Like, how many times have you
I know.
or something, and it's someone walking by, and they're like, ah, and then run out to
Let me
handle
tell you,
whatever
like you're
whatever's going
seeing
on.
nothing. Like you're gonna get hit. You run out of a diner in where I live and trying to catch somebody because you're gonna see them in a car driving past. Like that's about it. So like you're not seeing anything. But I love a good diner. And it could just be my childhood of growing up. When I was a kid, there was a woman, I think she went to my grandmother's church. I will cannot confirm or deny, but her basement was where everybody went and got their hair done. You know, and I mean, it was a 3 hour time frame just to get your hair washed. You know, like you were there for forever, especially if it was like right before a holiday, because I think it was just her and maybe her daughter that worked there. Um, but I just remember everybody would just be talking about church and about school and about like all the different things that was going on in their lives and everything. And that was just kind of the space, you know, of just like there were Avon magazines and people were, because I think she sold Avon too. Like there was like, you know, all kinds of stuff. And so I always tend to think of that kind of when I think of like those gossip areas and like people sitting around that are, like I said, my great aunt's kind of Bible study type of moments where people are just sitting around. And then even books that I've read, like a lot of them have like book clubs or like needle groups and you know knitting clubs and
Mhm.
things like that, where again that's where they're sitting around and that's where they're kind of doing their socializing. But I like the idea when you mentioned mimas, because you do have to kind of think about how you're getting everybody there. But if you've established someone who's such a pillar of the community, you know, that everybody loves or everybody very highly respects or something like that, then it does make sense that, you know, people would come in and out asking for advice or like she's always making dinner for those that are sick and so people are coming to pick it up or something, you know, where you could kind of work in like that kitchen table conversation of advice and wisdom, but also gossip and fun and everything, especially if you have like a bigger family or something like that. Like I do love that idea as well. So I could have a Mima Chronicle coming myself.
And I
But
I
I
can
didn't
also
think of that until then.
really, you can honestly get creative, and I'll tell you guys. So a lot of my family lives in the south and in the country, but a lot of them also live up north. And one of the things that I used to love when I was younger is that one of my aunt's homes, she lived in the row houses that they have in the city, and they all had
Mm.
big front porches, but all of the front porches
Oh, the
were
front
connected,
porches,
and
yes.
everybody, they'd have like their chairs and tables and stuff.
Yes.
You could see everything all down the whole block, and there's a little corner store. There's like a corner store on every single corner.
Nia's
On
taking me back, y'all.
and you, if you wanted to, you would holler down. You literally, I say holler, they would be like, "Oh, you're so country." When literally my family would tell me, "You're so country," and I'd be like, but you would holler down, "Hey, can so and so come over?" Yeah, they'll be down in 5 minutes. They got to finish doing such and such, and then they,
Mhm.
and everybody was out on the porch. If you needed something, hey, my grandma said she needs some something. Can you got some? Oh, there's some next door. At B's got some next door. I'll, you know, it like because all of the balcony or all of the front porches were connected, in these like 3-story row houses that they had, and literally all the kids and all the older people would just be out on the porch. So much fun. Everybody just communicating like that, and you just keep an eye on all the kids that way. There's so you can honestly, we say small town, that might be, small community in a big city, but there's so many ways you can get creative with how you're going to create this hub. of
That
yours.
just took me back to my whole childhood because my grandmother, my mom's mom, their house was like that. And
Yes.
it was an older house, so they didn't have like central air conditioning. So Missouri summer is like scorching.
Oh,
And that was what you did. Everybody was outside, like on the front porch, because it's the only way you could stay cool. And or like we'd be playing like in the front porch or the front yard or jumping double dutch in the middle of the street. And I always used to joke because my mom had one of those crazy names that broke down about 5 different ways. And I would always be like, if somebody walked up to me and was like, you're, however they said my mother's name, I could
mm-hmm.
tell how they knew her. And the yelling off the porch was one of the ways because there was only one name that would be yelled off that porch.
Yep.
If somebody was trying to get
Yep.
her down the street. But yeah, walking down to the corner store and get back when, there really was nickel candy
Penny
and
candy.
penny candy,
We had
right?
the penny candy and the nickel candy. Oh my goodness. If we could get some nickel candy, that was a real good candy.
And what my great grandmother used to call them belly washers, which was like these ridiculous, like nobody needs to drink this amount of soda.
Yeah.
Like cups of soda. But she like, go get us some penny candy and some belly washers and a pickle. And they
Oh,
have a
I
big
always wanted a
jar
pickle.
with like the huge pickle that they pull that whole thing out and put it in a bag. And so yeah, you just took me all the way back to my childhood. So yes, that is a great, and people would, they stop by, hang out on the porch with you for a while or be walking home and would stop and chat with, oh, Miss such and such, blah 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 blah. Well, I gotta get this meat in the refrigerator, so I gotta go on, head on home, and and everything. But yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about the front porch, but
The
yeah, the
front
front porch
porch.
is a great one.
I love the front porch, man.
Yes, the front
Great,
porch is a
great
good
memories.
one. That's, oh wow. Why do
um,
I now want a front porch in the story? Because yeah, a front porch is a good one, especially if you have someone who has kids. Oh my gosh, or a good street. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yep. What is another one? Oh
I
God.
was gonna say while you're thinking, another thing is because I know I mentioned like the Red Hat Society earlier, and then I was like, you might want to make up your own because
Mhm.
you don't want to get involved with like how they do things or whatever. Um, but you can just make up your own like societies and your
Yep.
own groups.
Yep.
Like I mean, they're like just look up Freemasons, like there's all kinds of different women's organizations, there's all kinds of different men's organizations. You can always like kind of not necessarily tailor yours exactly like theirs per se, but you can create it in a way that works for your story and builds it however would work the best for your story. So that's another way to kind of come up with, in a way, like your own little social hubs of some sort.
Totally agree. So I wanted to make sure I'm caught up. Also, we
I
got
know.
more ones. I want to say
Everybody's
hi.
saying hi. We got some new people. We got Morgan and JC and Shannon. And I think I saw Joanne in here a little bit ago.
Yep. And I also wanted to talk about when you're when you're tailoring niche places to be your hub. We mentioned the office place, how you can make it someplace in your office place, or you can have it a place that everybody kind of conjugates before work is also good. Is there a place that everybody goes to get their coffee where a lot of interactions can happen, or a bar? A lot of people that 5 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock kind of happy
Mm-hmm.
hour bar that people like to go to after work. But if you have military stories, this is some,
Mm.
we have a specific type of place where depending on the type of story that you're telling, there's sergeant there's the staffing CO clubs, officer clubs. things like that. A lot of bases have bowling alleys, movie theaters. Are these some of the places? The the um, the military PX stores that people literally will go to like every single day. And a lot of times the military bases will also have their own libraries and their own food courts and things like that. So there's a lot of places that you can come up that tailors to that. And speaking of food courts, if you have something, a story that's taking place on a college campus, are we
Mm-hmm.
are we creating the hub on the college campus, or are we creating a hub that's going to be outside of the college campus, like that everybody wants to get off campus and the place that everybody wants to go to? And
Like
it's
the
okay.
student centers are huge for college
Yes,
stories.
student centers,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And it's okay that if you might think it's going to be one and it ends, this is one of those cases where you think it's going to be the student center, but then it actually ends up being Joe's Bar and Grill, that's
Mm-hmm.
right off, on the boulevard, right off campus. It could end up being that, but you start creating these places when you're doing your world building as you're telling your stories, and you'll see the place that you as you're writing, it's the place that you keep drawing to,
Mm-hmm.
that you feel like your characters are drawn to. So as long as you're for me, as long as you're creating the spaces so it doesn't like come out of the blue, like you're in book 6 and all of a sudden we're at Sally's shop and you're like, who the heck is Sally? We've never been
Right.
here. Never. Who is Sally? What is this place? What is she selling here at this shop? What is this even? And now you're telling me everybody goes here all the time and stuff happened here. I don't know this. I don't know her. I don't know Sally. You never brought me here before in my life.
Yes.
So, if you world build, you can kind of like in your first story, you'll start, okay, they've gone here and they've gone here, and it's a little. And then you're like, second story, oh, look, we're back here again. Third story, we're going here again. We have kind of organically from the places that we've world build, we kind of organically migrated our people here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they end up being.
And
So
you
there's
don't always have to, I mean, it helps if you go, for sure. Like at least like a stop in, a wave, or something every time
you don't have to every
in a
story.
book. But like sometimes it could just be like if it is the hair salon, maybe it's or the barbershop, or the bar or whatever. Maybe it's just Susie walked in, everybody's like, you get your hair done? She's like, oh yeah, I went over to Sally's. And girl, let me tell you, Miss Such and Such was in there and she told me that she saw blah 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 blah. You're still establishing that
Yeah.
that the barbershop or the hair salon is where you did this. Or, they're like, I didn't see you yesterday. Oh, I went over to the bar. Oh, and I was talking to Joe and he was telling me such and such. You're still establishing that, even if you aren't in that space. So you don't necessarily have to go, but it should be kind of frequently mentioned in
Yep.
some ways in regards to what it's supposed to be, to establish that that's kind of like that meeting point, that's like that hub of something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I think in my second Bennett Brothers book, I don't think I take any of all of my characters do pass through the central park, but the main cafe where everybody gets their coffee, it's mentioned, hey, we picked up our favorite coffee from this place, but I don't think they actually went to the coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Or we're not in the coffee shop with them when that
Right.
happens. We do go to the coffee shop in like the first book and one of the other books. So, but it's still a place that exists no matter what, and always no matter what. For Ethereal Falls, at least, always something's happening in the town square, whether even if it's just a passing through. So, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can establish your places without, you don't have to drag every character to every one of your established places every single book. You don't have to do
Right.
that.
Especially because, again, if you are writing shorter, it kind of can start to bog down your story. If,
Mhm.
like you have Mima's kitchen that everybody talks in, but you also have like the book club that people are chatty, with, and then the bar that everybody goes to, and then everybody's always getting their hair. Like, how often are you getting a haircut? You know what I mean? Like, it like that could start to bog down your story when you really need to be focusing in on like your couple or your plot or your mystery or
Especially
the
with your
fantasy or
shorts.
whatever is happening in the story.
Especially with your shorts.
Yeah, you can start to kind of bog everything down where it's like, when are we going to actually get back to these stories? So you don't necessarily, like, once you've established it, you just need to figure out how you're going to continue to show it without it overtaking
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah. Like if I've got a small town and I've already established that this is the coffee shop where everybody gets coffee, there's no reason for me to take my characters to in book 4 to take them to a different coffee shop. And in
Hmm.
book 6, another coffee shop. Why am I not bringing them back to my main coffee shop? Why do I now have 3 coffee shops in this small town? People are going to be like, "Does she remember that she has a coffee shop?"
Not to mention, like, how many really small towns have like 3, 4, 5 coffee shops?
Me tell you, my daughter lives in a small town, and the coffee shop situations that they had over the last few years was wild because there was an established coffee shop, and they wanted to bring a new coffee shop in. And boy, she said the Facebook neighborhood groups were lit up about this new coffee shop coming in. I'm like, this is so real.
And,
Like,
well, now that's a good reason.
and my daughter's like, but then everybody's waiting. We're trying to go to work.
That's
Everybody's
a
waiting.
good way, if you are going to
How we
bring
can
in a
split
second
up.
coffee shop, to bring in another coffee shop where it's like this whole debate, and people are up in arms and how dare they, but then, like you said, like, everybody's waiting around for the coffee and they're late getting to work because they only have the one coffee shop, and
If you live in
and
a
like
one road
and then
town,
people feeling like other people are traitors because they went to the new
you
coffee
went to the
shop,
new
and
coffee shop. How
you
dare
know
you? You don't
like,
love it.
that's a good way to bring in that type of tension. But yeah, no, if you're just randomly taking
Oh,
your
for
people
real.
like 3 different coffee shops in a small town,
It's like,
people are
didn't
gonna be
you
like,
say
"I don't
small
understand."
town? Your small town has one road, and on that one road, there's now 4 coffee shops. What's happening here?
And that's another, like, I think that we get into this idea that, okay, realistically, most places, and I've been in some pretty small towns, that still will have, say, like, 2 diners and maybe
Mm.
5 fast food places or something like that. They may even have 2 coffee shops. I'm not big on coffee. I don't go to a lot of coffee shops unless I'm working or what have you. But just because we're trying to make it realistic doesn't mean that we have to then include Sally's Beauty Supply and Angela's Hairdo and Cindy's Hair Shop and like Bill's Coffee Place and Starbucks and this coffee place and like Al's Diner and this, like, you don't have to include 5 different like types of establishments. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to include all 5 fast food restaurants. You don't have to include all 5 like sit down restaurants. You can pick the ones that you want and just trust that people know that the diner's not the only diner in the place that if people want to go eat. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. Yeah,
oh,
that
that's
goes
so
back.
cute, Regina.
I know. I love the Muffin Man. That is so cute. It goes back to that you don't have to say everything that's in your small town to know that it's
Exactly.
there. That there's probably some type of, post office, some type of water and sewer,
Hmm.
company. You don't have to say in every, it's like there are basic things that even a small town will have, even if it's out in the county and not necessarily in the town, that you don't have to like, I must establish that there's an electric company and a cable company and a water company. You don't need to do that. Don't worry about that. People we live in this world. We can fill in those blanks. Nobody's going to be like, you never said if your town has an electric company or not. It's like,
where are they getting their phones from?
where are they getting their mail? I've never seen a mailman in your. Now I do have a mailman in Ethereal Falls. It is Ned. He's great, but it's not necessary. Ned's a part of the story, so
Exactly.
like,
So yeah, you don't have to.
You
I think the only way I could see that being where you could maybe tweak it is if you've established like your town sits and say like one of the Bible belts. Then maybe if you mention like 4 or 5 churches on every corner, okay. Because you've established kind of that idea that it's there, and like, well, the Presbyterians never cross the street to talk to the Baptists, on Sunday or something like that.
Who's gonna get out of church first because we only got the 2 diners? You either
right,
or going to that diner, so everybody's like telling the pastor, like, "Come on, we're trying to get lunch. We need to get out
exactly
before the Presbyterian church gets out."
So like that I could see where, okay, it would make more sense that you're establishing that there's multiple churches because of all the different things that are going on. That I could understand, and making it part of the story. Like I said, like we were saying, like with the Presbyterians maybe having a little beef Baptists, or the Baptists being mad because Pentecostals eat up all the fried chicken at the diner, or something, and like, who's going over such and such's house? Well, Sally, she does dinner after church, but like that type of something. I could see that in that perspective, but generally, yeah, no. We know there's probably multiples of stuff in your small town. You don't have to include all of them unless it's part of the plot. Because although that would be kind of fun to have like a Bible Belt kind of town where everybody's having some issues with all the different.
That's a lot of fun. Too. A lot of ideas coming out of this one.
I know, especially because you don't even have to have it be like, it could just be all of them are Baptist church, but there's like New Baptist, Southern Baptist, Missionary Baptist, Progressive Baptist, like.
Sure, good.
Like they could all be Baptists and have beef.
Methodists and the Presbyterians over there just minding their own business. Like, we just stay out of it. We just
so you could have some fun with that. Those are like some great ideas. I think we've pretty much covered it. Nia, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Guys, we're available. If you have any questions or any thoughts, please leave them down in the comments below after this is done. When we see them, we'll answer them, address them, and maybe you'll give us an idea for a new topic with your questions. So feel free to and also, we know what we do, but you might do things different. So let us know some of the things that, if you've got some ideas of how to come up with new hubs or things that you like to have happen in your hubs, and how you come up with yours. Go ahead and let us know. We share the knowledge, share the wealth.
Because we are by no means experts. Like, we're in the struggle with y'all. We are learning too.
We are readers and writers, just like y'all.
So we'll take some notes.
I love it.
Like I said, I didn't think about the people being quiet in the library until Nia said it, and it was like, light bulb moment.
I imagine our busybodies in there listening to everything, but then being like, shh, shh, but also like.
That would be fun. Like, the main librarian is always shushing everybody, but she's the biggest like busybody who's telling everything as soon as the library closes. So yeah. Well, in theory, guys, we should be back next month.
Yeah, not the first Saturday though, because that's our Easter weekend.
Yeah. So But we should be back. If you guys have a topic you'd like us to discuss, let us know. We're
Mm-hmm.
always open for everything. She does see and hear everything. It's true. Um, so yes, and yeah, that's about it, guys.
Yep.
So have a great afternoon. I think this might be the closest to our hour stream that we've done.
Yeah, we did
Well,
good.
high five. All right, guys. We will see you guys later.